Let's talk big picture college football coming out of week 9. Okay?
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
Well, I mean,
where do you want to start?
Well, here's where we'll start. We'll start with the dust settling on week 9.
Yes.
And raise your hand if you had Texas A&M's Marcel Reed as the leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy as we enter November.
I do not.
I didn't have that. No, Diego Pavia, we talked about a month ago, and because with these big showdown games with Alabama and Missouri and LSU, he had a chance. And now here comes Texas.
Yep.
Diego Pavia is in this conversation. Marcel Reed, though, has to. He's a redshirt sophomore from Nashville. He piled up over 300 total yards of offense on Saturday night, four more touchdowns in their blowout of LSU. They got Brian Kelly whacked. His team quit. But Reed now has 23 touchdowns. His team's 8-0, and he's an explosive play waiting to happen in Colin Klein's offense. For the season, he's averaging nearly 17 yards per completion with those weapons and over 8 yards per rush. And how about this? He doesn't blink. Speaking of that, in hostile environments, he led A&M to 41 points on the road at Notre Dame, 49 points at LSU. Hey, that bodes well because they still have to travel to Missouri and here to Austin in the final month. But Mike Elko's team, man, that's a good-looking group. And listen to him after the game when they just got Brian Kelly fired, essentially, with what they did. He doesn't think they've hit their ceiling yet, which is kind of scary for the rest of college football as they continue to improve. Here's Mike Elko.
Close are you to reaching your ceiling in terms of what this team can do on the field?
Probably still got a ways to go. I think that's how we want to think about it. We want to continue to be in a growth mindset. We want to continue to grow every single week. And again, we've said this repeatedly. We have bigger aspirations for where we can go than anybody else. And so, as we win, I think other people will catch up. All right.
So. Look, the Aggies in November have never been. It's never been good. And I was talking to a good Aggie friend of mine that said, once we get off 8 wins, I'll feel better because 8 wins has been their ceiling as a program, and now they're at 8.
Texas 8-4. That's their nickname.
I know 8-4, but I said I felt like when they hired him and I saw his first press conference and covered him for the first time at SEC Media Days last year, I was like, well, this Mike Elko can coach y'all. He's a sharp dude. He's all business. He's the opposite of Jimbo Fisher, who was all fluff and bluster. This guy can really coach, and you're seeing it. And he had a plan, and now he's got a quarterback who's playing as well as any quarterback in the country. They're good. They still don't have Le'Veon Moss, but man, they're scheduled. Look, Missouri's down to their 3rd quarterback now.
Yeah, that was tough.
Bo Perbula got hurt in the loss to Vanderbilt, and they had already lost their backup to an injury, so they go to Missouri, which doesn't look as daunting.
No.
And now then they got to come here.
Yeah.
In the end of and so here it is, right? So there's 5 undefeated teams outside of A&M. There's 6 total. Ohio State and Indiana in the Big Ten.
Right.
Buckeyes' toughest remaining test is at Michigan to wrap up the season. Michigan 6-2, and they pretty much own Ryan Day right now. That's their toughest test. And to say the Indiana Hoosiers have an easy path from here, they're undefeated. How about this? Their combined conference record of their final 4 opponents, 1-17.
Yeah, throw Purdue in that mix.
1-17.
Doesn't have any of the one. Right. Bad.
The only team that has a win that's left in the conference is Maryland.
Oh,
they're
boy.
1-3. Bunch of they got Indiana got nobody.
The bottom of the barrel.
Now, Georgia Tech is still unbeaten in the ACC, so they sit atop of it. Their toughest game left is the Pitt Panthers in conference play.
Right.
Pitt's 6-2. They also have to play Georgia in a non-con game on rivalry
that will
weekend.
Be something, won't it, for once?
Things feels like it.
I mean, for real.
In the Big 12, BYU rolled over Iowa State Saturday.
What a big win for them.
But think about BYU. They're undefeated. They're 8-0. But they have 4 really tough games to finish. They have to play Tech and Lubbock, coming off their bye week because they're off this week. Then they play Tech and Lubbock. They host TCU, travel to Cincinnati, and then host Central Florida.
Yeah.
So they got 4 tough games, 2 at home, 2 on the road, and obviously the trip to Lubbock will be massive.
Impressed with what they've done in 2 weeks because they won that big game, the Holy War. Utah's a good football team. Yes, it was at BYU, but they had to go out to Ames. That's a spot where, hey, listen, it's a good program.
I'm going to say Utah's a decent football team.
Yeah, well,
decent, maybe. Because Texas Tech smashed them. BYU smashed them. Arizona State beat them.
Yeah, 6-2.
I know. I think they're decent. That's what I think of them. But as far as Big 12 contender, it's Texas Tech and it's BYU right now. And Cincinnati is still undefeated in the conference. So one of those teams.
That's where game day is. Yeah. Cincy versus Utah.
Yeah, it's a big game. I don't think Utah's very good. I don't know. I'm not a big believer in the quarterback. He can't throw straight. But either way. But how about this? Another undefeated team is Navy out of the American Conference, but they have 4 games left against teams that are combined 26-6.
Including the old Fighting Irish.
They got to play North Texas, Notre Dame, South Florida, and Memphis down the stretch here. That's the Naval Academy's schedule. And their gauntlet begins this Saturday in Denton against the Mean Green of North Texas. Can we please give a huge game time high five to the local product, Drew Mestamaker, who never started a varsity game at Vandergrift. We told you, that team won a state title. Mike Adams' son came in, Deuce, and took the job, and he ended up moving to defense. So he wasn't recruited. He was a 0-star recruit, decided to walk on at North Texas. And as we sit here this morning, Drew Mestemaker leads the country in passing yards, passing efficiency, and on Friday night against Charlotte, threw for a school record 608 yards.
I saw this.
And the Mean Green are 7-1 now.
That's
a cool story, man.
I saw that one pop up on Twitter. He had over 600 yards that I had to look at twice.
608.
Good for him.
So here it is, the college football playoff overview with a month to go. We just laid out who the undefeated teams are. There are 3 teams from the SEC who I think are playoff bound. A&M, Alabama,
Ole Miss.
And Ole Miss. And Ole Miss did it with that win at Oklahoma.
Biggest win maybe for Lane Kiffin in the Ole Miss era?
Because the Rebels,
Right.
the Rebels now face an extremely favorable month. They got South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State.
Right.
Okay, none of those teams are winning teams that they can even afford a loss and still possibly be that team. So you got 3 from the SEC: A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, and then they, along with Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon from the Big Ten. Those 3 teams, and again, Indiana doesn't play anybody.
Right.
Ohio State could lose to Michigan again, and they might still get in the playoff, probably will. Then there's 2-loss Notre Dame, who, provided they win out, I think they'll be in. Their toughest tests left are Navy and Pittsburgh. But Navy's might lose to Mean Green this week, right? So then you got those. So you got 3 Big 12, 3 SEC, 3 Big 10. Notre Dame, that's 7. Then I think the Memphis Tigers are in the best shape of the group of 6 team because they rallied for 17 fourth-quarter points and upset South Florida on Saturday. So they're 7-1 and in good shape. They still have to play Tulane and Navy in the month of November. But then, so that's 8 spots. And, of course, the ACC champion, Georgia Tech right now, and then the Big 12 champ are going to be in. So that's 10. I don't know who's going to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
So then the final 2 are going to come down to, probably 2 more SEC teams to give them 5, or would there be a second Big 12? Would there be a second ACC? I think it comes down to 2 SEC at-larges for those final 2. And right now, those 2, so that's SEC number 4 and number 5 behind Bama, A&M, and Ole Miss. Right now, that is the Longhorns' next 2 opponents, Vanderbilt and Georgia. So Texas is in this mix because they play those 2 teams this coming Saturday, and then a week after their bye week, they go to Athens, Georgia. So those are the 2 teams right now sitting in the 4 and the 5 hole.
Yeah,
Vandy and Georgia, and Texas plays them the next 2 games.
They do
over the next 3 weeks.
And throw in a Tennessee too.
They're technically still alive. Would be Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, and the Longhorns. But Texas gets head to head with the teams that are ahead of them.
Right, exactly.
That's an opportunity to go get wins. Now, again, can they do it? I don't know. Are they going to fight for it? Yes. Can they? We'll see.
It's all in front of them.
I know. That's how big that comeback and win was, and that win at Kentucky. So that's where we are. And I do think those final 2 spots, when I say 10, I think the 3 SEC are pretty solid. The Big 10s are in. The Big 12 winner is going to get in. The ACC winner, Notre Dame, group of 6. So we're to 10 now.
Yeah, you just wonder what
so
the
who
ACC...
the other 2 going to be?
Right, because the ACC got 2 bids last year. If that's the case where Georgia Tech goes out, what if they win the ACC but have a loss to Georgia at that point, and Miami maybe, throwing them in the mix? They don't control their own destiny.
Virginia survived that game at North Carolina Saturday and beat Bill Belichick's team.
They did.
Fortunate. But they still control their destiny to get to the ACC title game, and so does Georgia Tech. So and Miami, who's over here, they can't win their way to the ACC championship.
They got to
game.
play at SMU this week. That's
not
the
but
easiest
even
task.
if they win out, there's no
Right.
guarantee they're playing in the championship game. So I don't think would Miami get in over the number 3 or 4 team in the SEC. I don't know.
Their best win would be Notre Dame at home. I don't know if that's enough of a resume builder to get you pushed in.
I don't know.
It's going to be tough.
I think the SEC is the strongest conference. I mean, they're 10 deep right now, and they're going to beat each other up. But I do think those last 2 spots are going to SEC 3 and 4. And right now, again, that's Vanderbilt and Georgia. Texas can play their way into those spots. And think about that. If they, again, just hypothetical fun on a Monday. If Texas were to find a way to win that, get a week off, get healthy, go to Athens and stun the world, they'd come home. How big would that A&M game be? A&M might be in by then. Because if they're 9-0 when they get to Tech, when they come to play Texas, or what? No, they'd be
11-0.
11-0. Yeah, they'll get to 9-0 if they win this week. But if they get to 11-0, even a loss to Texas, and they're still probably going to be in the SEC title game and probably in the tournament. So I don't know. That's where it stands. That's how I see it. I think the SEC is the strongest, so I think those last 2. I don't think there's a 4th Big Ten team that's going to have an argument.
It would have to be if Michigan won out and beat Ohio State.
I guess the Big 12, technically, if BYU wins that tough schedule they've got, they could put themselves there along with like a Texas Tech. But I think it's going to be the SEC getting 5 this year. But that's where I see it with November November's always the month to remember, right? Remember November. Aggies don't always like it very much, but feels like this is a different team with more substance and Mike Elko and Marcel Reed, and really good coaching and finding ways to win games wherever, however. But that's where I see it right now, big picture. And we also have another Power 4 coaching vacancy. Brian Kelly's been fired.
And that's the biggest one now.
I still think Florida's a better job.
No. I disagree.
As far as resources. In the NIL era?
I think that's the number one job right now, personally. LSU.
That's a poor state.
That's a
Florida's
place
a rich
that's had
state.
3 championships with 3 different coaches.
I'm talking about 2025. With the NIL, with resources.
I think if you're a coach, LSU's the number one job you'd want to go to. I think maybe resources Florida might have.
I think based on legacy and history, yes. I'm talking about right now.
I'll go LSU.
Which program has deeper pockets and has more resources?
Well, you got to get Scott Woodward out there. If I was coach, I'd want that.
You got Scott Strickland at Florida. I'm saying they're close. I'm just saying if I'm a coach and I'm going, they're both really good jobs. Those are the 2 best jobs. Penn State would be third, a close third. But I just, in 2025, I don't care how many. I mean, I watched them when they had Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier, and they were beating everybody. That program with the right coach wins big.
I just think Nick Saban set them up where then Les Miles could take over. We saw Coach Orgeron take over. We thought Brian Kelly, well, I didn't. I don't think anyone really thought he'd win championships. We thought we'd see success out of there. I think it's a fair debate. Maybe resource-wise, Florida has.
I think right now, based on the state of college football and where it's at, I think Florida's got deeper pockets and more resources. But that's
if you're a top coach, you would go. You think that most coaches would want the Florida job over LSU? You think from that perspective? Because I get what you're saying with the resources.
Like if I'm Lane Kiffin and I can have either of them, I'd take Florida.
Really?
Yeah, personally, that's my. I mean, yeah. I think you might be too young to remember when Urban Meyer was dominating college football with all those Florida athletes, and he had it purring, man. I'm not, again, no slouch to LSU. I'm not. It's close. But in 2025, nothing passed. You can win because, again, it's about resources. It's about what does Jeff Ward call them? Sugar daddies. There are more of those at Florida than there are at LSU, in my opinion. But, again, they're supposed to be putting a cap on this whole thing, and here come rules. I don't know. But it's really pay to play at this point, and I would take Florida. But it's close.